there's been a stereotype in our society for a very long time that you should have orgasm from intercourse. Now, this is true for men. Men have orgasm from intercourse, but women, for the most part, don't orgasm regularly from intercourse. But there's never been a study before that asked women, do you orgasm from intercourse? How do you orgasm? If so, if you don't, how do you feel about it? What do you think about it? The fact that women know how to masturbate to orgasm, most women know how. Even in Kinsey's time, the majority of women could, if they chose to, masturbate to orgasm very easily. This fact shows that the idea we have that women are harder to stimulate, that it takes them longer to orgasm, that men should be patient and considerate when they're with women, really is a cultural idea. It's the definition of sex that makes women have a problem, in quotes, with orgasm, not anything in women. Well, of course, Freud was saying that the only orgasms that are mature, worthy of a real woman, whatever that is, were had during intercourse. Now, before this was called vaginal orgasm. Now, since Masters and Johnson, it's not called vaginal orgasm so much anymore, but still the idea is to have orgasm during intercourse with no hands. This has really been an impressive notion to men and women, and it's led to the performance standard being emphasized for men, in that men are supposed to be erect for a long, long period of time so that the woman could finally get enough clitoral stimulation during intercourse to orgasm, since this was considered to be the only healthy way. In other words, you're supposed to keep trying to have this orgasm during intercourse. It's unfortunate that Freud had this idea. Even Freud had said perhaps his biological data was wrong, since he knew it was sketchy. And I'm sure if he were alive today, he'd already be agreeing with Masters and Johnson. However, the profession can be slow to change.
Is there a message for men in your study?
Whatever it is that tells men that they must perform, they must be in charge. Here, as elsewhere in society, they have to be the providers of the orgasm for the man and the woman. Really clearly reflects their position in the rest of society. They're supposed to be the provider. The woman is supposed to be sort of passively dependent. I think all these things are not necessary and put an onus on the man, and the woman also. It's very difficult. The so-called sexual revolution of the 1960s really didn't give, in quotes, women sexual freedom, in quotes. The idea was that, well, now that children really don't define the status of the father, it's okay if women have free sex too, like men have had. But women didn't. In the study, I found that although they were very happy that sex could now be discussed and it was no longer considered dirty, the majority of women felt that pressure on them to have more sex in a kind of a mechanical way, perhaps separated from feelings, was really not what they liked, and they didn't find it satisfying. And just the pressure to say yes and never having the right to say no was not felt to be freedom.
You've been criticized for interjecting feminist politics into your book. What's your reaction to that charge?
Well, I was criticized by one person who also thought that the book should be read by everybody. But my basic reaction to that is that the findings are very separate from the conclusions. By feminist, I mean women should have equal rights. The conclusions are feminist in the sense I think women should have equal rights in sex. And nobody's pointed this out yet. We've talked about jobs, we've talked about education, we just haven't talked about sex.